I made up my mind. It was supposed to be a clean break. No tears, no guilt, no second thoughts. My parents, they were old, stubborn, obsessed with things that didn't matter anymore. Dusty books, strange little rituals, and a house that felt more like a tomb than a home. So I left, and I didn't look back. The last thing my father said to me, his voice raspy but firm, was, "You'll regret this, son, not because of us, but because of what we're keeping safe." I actually laughed. What could two frail old people possibly be protecting? I pictured them guarding a dusty collection of old coins or some family heirloom I'd never cared about. So I turned the key in the ignition, the engine roaring to life and shattering the oppressive silence of the farm. I drove away, leaving behind the creaking farmhouse, the overgrown fields, and that eerie quiet that always seemed to whisper things I couldn't quite hear. I pushed them from my mind and started a new life. 3 years passed. I built a whole new world for myself. A new city, a new job, new friends who didn't know the first thing about my strange family. I was Ethan, the successful project manager, not Ethan, the boy from the creepy farmhouse. I was free. I was happy. Or so I told myself. Then the letter arrived. It was strange. It just appeared on my doorstep. No return address, no stamp, as if it had materialized out of thin air. It was a single sheet of paper, folded once. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. The handwriting was jagged, unfamiliar. It read, "They're gone, but what they took with them still waits." My blood ran cold. Gone? My parents? A part of me felt a pang of something. Loss? Guilt? I pushed it down. But the second part of the message sent a shiver down my spine. What they took with them still waits. Tucked inside the folded paper was a key. Rusted, cold to the touch, and sickeningly familiar. It was the key to the cellar door. The one place in the house I was never, ever allowed to go. I told myself it was just curiosity. Not guilt, not love. Just a loose end I needed to tie up. I drove for hours, the sleek city skyline melting into the familiar, lonely countryside of my childhood. The house stood just as I remembered it, but more desolate, more consumed by nature. It was abandoned. But it didn't feel empty. Dust lay thick over everything, a gray shroud over my past. Every surface, every piece of furniture, coated. Except for the cellar door. It looked clean, almost polished, as if someone had been using it recently. My heart hammered against my ribs. Using the key, I unlocked the heavy, groaning door. The air that rushed out was stale and smelled of damp earth and something else, something ancient and metallic. I descended the creaking wooden stairs, my phone's flashlight cutting a nervous beam through the oppressive darkness. And then I saw them. Notebooks, hundreds of them, stacked on dusty shelves, piled in corners. Each one was filled with my father's meticulous, looping handwriting. But these weren't farm ledgers. They were filled with diagrams I didn't recognize, symbols that made my skin crawl, and warnings. So many warnings. I grabbed one at random and flipped it open. The inheritance is not money, one entry read. It's protection. I scoffed, but kept reading, my hands shaking. The lineage is a cage, a duty passed down. We are its wardens. Another line, scribbled frantically, chilled me to the bone. If we die, it wakes. Wakes? What wakes? I still didn't believe in curses, or spirits, or ancient things buried beneath floorboards. I was a man of logic, of spreadsheets and project deadlines. This was just the ramblings of two old people lost in their own folklore. I was about to dismiss it all, to leave and never come back. That's when the single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling flickered. Then it went out, plunging me into total darkness. I fumbled for my phone, my breath catching in my throat. I clicked it back on, the beam shaking wildly. And then I felt it. A low rhythmic vibration. It wasn't coming from the ground. It was the walls. The very walls of the house seemed to pulse, a slow, deep inhale and exhale. The house was breathing. And then I heard it. A voice. My mother's voice. But it wasn't right. It was soft, broken, and seemed to echo from the deepest corners of the cellar, from the very air around me. "We kept it asleep, Ethan," it whispered. "Now it knows you're here." Panic seized me. Pure, primal terror. I scrambled up the stairs, my feet slipping on the dusty wood. I had to get out. I burst through the cellar door, slamming it shut behind me, and sprinted for the front door. But my hand closed on the knob, and it wouldn't turn. It was fused shut. I threw my shoulder against the wood, but it was like hitting solid rock. The windows were the same, unyielding. The house wasn't letting me go. Trapped, cornered, my logical world was shattering around me. I ran back to the cellar, my only source of information. I had to understand. I frantically tore through the notebooks, searching for an answer, a way out. In the very last notebook, tucked into a sleeve in the back cover, I found a photograph. It was me, a little boy, no older than 5, standing in the yard in front of the house. I was smiling, innocent. But it wasn't the picture of me that made me gasp for air. It was what stood behind me. A shadow. A tall, distorted figure that didn't belong. It wasn't my shadow. It wasn't my parents. It was something else. Something impossibly thin and dark, with too many joints in its limbs. Beneath the photo, in my father's trembling script, was a caption. "You were chosen at birth. It marked you. We spent our lives keeping it from you. But now, it remembers." A scream tore from my throat, raw and desperate, but no one could hear me. The whispering grew louder, the walls groaned, and the floorboards shifted beneath my feet. The house was no longer a house. It was a memory, a prison, a mouth waiting to swallow me whole, just as it had swallowed the lives of my parents. Weeks later, the local fire department responded to a call. The old farmhouse had burned to the ground, an inferno that left nothing but ash and scorched earth. They searched the ruins, but they found no bodies. No trace of Ethan. Just one single thing left behind, sitting pristine in the center of the devastation, untouched by the flames. A single notebook. Inside, on the first page, was a new message, written in a hand that was not my father's. It was sharp, elegant, and ancient. He left us to die, but we took it with us. Now, it's his. If this story chilled your spine and made you question what lies beneath the surface of the world you think you know, subscribe to Truths Untold. We share more haunting tales, emotional twists, and revelations that will stay with you long after the screen fades to black. Like, share, and comment below. Because some stories aren't just fiction, they're warnings. Thanks for watching.